I'm a woman in my late 20s, and I recently found myself in a situation that left me questioning the boundaries in my relationships. Let me start at the beginning. A few months ago, I inherited a significant sum of money from my late mother. This money wasn't just a random windfall, it was the result of her lifetime of hard work and sacrifice. For me, it wasn't about the amount. It was about honoring her memory and ensuring that the money was used for something meaningful. I wanted to take my time to figure out the best way to use it. Maybe invest it, save it for the future, or even start something in her name. Because of how important this inheritance was to me, I kept it in a separate account. I also didn't want it to mix with our household finances, especially since I wasn't sure how my husband might react. Initially, he didn't seem to have a problem with it. In fact, he even told me I should take my time to decide. But over the weeks, I started noticing a change. At first, it was subtle. He would casually suggest ways I could spend the money. Maybe we could upgrade the kitchen, he'd say, or wouldn't a new car be nice? I brushed it off, thinking he was just being practical. Then, his suggestions became more frequent and more specific. He started mentioning vacations, buying expensive gadgets, and even loaning money to some of his family members who were struggling. I started feeling uneasy. This was my inheritance, something deeply personal, and yet it was starting to feel like it wasn't mine anymore. What really bothered me was how he began relying on me for everyday expenses. If we went out to dinner, he'd assume I'd pay. If we needed groceries, he'd ask me to cover it. It wasn't that I minded contributing, we're partners, but it felt like he was taking advantage of the situation. The breaking point came on New Year's Eve. We had plans to meet his family at a nice restaurant to celebrate. I was looking forward to it, a chance to unwind, have fun, and welcome the new year with loved ones. The evening started off great. The restaurant was beautiful, the food was amazing, and everyone was in high spirits. We shared laughs, talked about our resolutions, and reminisced about the past year. For a moment, I forgot about all the tension that had been building. But then, toward the end of the night, I overheard something that made my stomach drop. My husband's mother, in a light-hearted tone, said something like, "Well, she can cover the bill with that inheritance money of hers, right?" I was stunned. I hadn't agreed to pay for the dinner, nor had anyone asked me. Yet, here they were, openly discussing it as if it were a done deal. When the server brought the bill, my husband casually slid it toward me without even looking up. His entire family turned to me with these expectant smiles, like it was my duty to pay. Let me just say, it wasn't a small group. There were 10 of us at the table, and this was a fancy restaurant. The bill was no small amount. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the principle. They hadn't asked. They had assumed. I felt humiliated and cornered. But instead of causing a scene, I stayed calm. I took out my card, paid for my own meal and drinks, and then stood up. Without a word, I grabbed my things and walked out. As I left, I could hear their voices behind me. "Where are you going? Come back." My husband even ran after me, but I didn't stop. I got in my car and drove home. When he got home hours later, closer to 2 a.m., he was furious. He stormed in, accusing me of being selfish and humiliating him in front of his family. He said they had relied on me to pay for the dinner and thought I would be gracious enough to do it. I tried to explain how I felt blindsided and disrespected, but he wouldn't hear it. He even accused me of using this as a way to get back at his family, claiming I resented them for not being able to support my mom when she was sick. That was a low blow and completely untrue. What hurt the most was that he didn't seem to understand, or care, why I was upset. It wasn't about the money. It was about the entitlement, the lack of respect, and the way I was treated like a walking wallet instead of a person. Since then, things have been tense. He's still mad, saying I caused unnecessary drama and a rift with his family. He insists it wouldn't have hurt me to pay for the dinner, given the inheritance and that I overreacted. But here's the thing. Generosity is a choice, not an obligation. And when people assume your generosity without giving you the choice, it feels more like manipulation than kindness. So, now I'm left wondering, did I handle this the right way? Should I have just paid to keep the peace, or was I right to stand up for myself?